In the vast Nevada wilderness, where broken mountain ridges carve shadows across endless open desert, few hikers knew the land as intimately as Kenny Veach. For years, Kenny had been a familiar figure among local explorers, a man whose reputation was built on experience, intuition, and an unshakable respect for nature's unforgiving temperament. By all accounts, Kenny was not the type to take reckless risks. He understood the desert's dangers better than most. The blistering heat by day, the bone-deep cold by night, the venomous animals that hid beneath rock shelves, and the disorienting silence that stretched for miles. He had survived long solo treks, navigated remote ridges, and ventured into places where few dared to go. Locals often said, if anyone could handle those mountains alone, it was Kenny. But on one particular hike, one that began with curiosity, excitement, and a hint of obsession, Kenny walked into the Nevada desert and was never seen again. The Hook, a veteran explorer meets an impossible mystery. Kenny's disappearance didn't begin as a tragedy. It began as a story about discovery. A story about something strange deep in the Mojave, something that caught his attention and refused to let go. In a YouTube comment on a survival channel, Kenny described stumbling upon a cave unlike anything he had encountered before. Its entrance was unervingly perfect, shaped like a giant M carved into the rock, its interior trembling with a low-frequency vibration that made his body feel strangely uncomfortable. He wrote, "As I got close, the whole body started vibrating. The closer I got, the more it intensified. I backed out and left immediately." That comment ignited the internet's imagination. It also marked the beginning of his final, fatal journey. A desert veteran with a purpose. Before M Cave became an obsession that consumed online forums, Kenny was simply known as a seasoned desert explorer. He hiked solo for long distances, carried limited gear to test his survival skills, navigated complex terrain with ease, filmed his journeys with a small handheld camera. Friends described him as energetic, curious, and endlessly optimistic. He treated the wilderness with reverence, never underestimating its ability to punish those who disrespected it. This wasn't a man careless with danger. This wasn't a novice hiker lost due to inexperience. Kenny Veach was deliberate, methodical, and deeply intrigued by strange geological formations. And when he posted about the M Cave, commenters urged him to return and document it. He agreed. With excitement building and curiosity burning, Kenny began preparing for what he believed might be one of the most significant discoveries of his life. He didn't know that this expedition would be the last documented chapter of his story. Before the world came to know his name through online debates, missing person forums, and gripping unsolved mystery videos, Kenny Veach was simply a man deeply in love with the vast, unforgiving desert terrain of Nevada. To truly understand the weight of his disappearance, you must first understand who Kenny was, his habits, his skills, his dreams, and why so many people still believe he could not have simply vanished without a trace. A skilled, experienced desert explorer, Kenny wasn't just a hiker. He was a desert veteran, one of the rare few who could navigate Nevada's rugged wilderness alone and confidently. Friends, co-workers, and online acquaintances consistently described him as fearless but not reckless, curious but always alert to danger, independent but prepared, experienced with local wildlife and weather shifts. He had spent years trekking across steep ridges, old mine shafts, abandoned military facilities, and remote mountain basins. Many of these hikes stretched for dozens of miles, alone, with no formal support. He would often disappear into the backcountry for long periods, returning with stories of narrow escapes, unusual rock formations, and encounters with desert bighorn sheep that made others shiver. Despite his daring spirit, he respected the land. "The desert is beautiful," he once said, "but it'll kill you quick if you take it lightly." His hiker identity, light, fast, minimalist. Kenny was a self-taught survivalist who believed in traveling light. He often carried no GPS. He relied on his instincts and memory. He limited his gear to essentials: a knife, water, basic supplies. He used minimalist shoes to train his endurance. Many modern hikers criticized his style, but to those who knew him, this was simply how Kenny operated. He liked to push himself. He tested his limits. And he trusted his knowledge of Nevada's desert more than he trusted any device. Yet despite this unconventional approach, he was cautious. He avoided unstable mine tunnels, he documented his routes, and he knew how to read the land in ways few could. This duality, bold but smart, is part of what makes his disappearance so shocking. His obsession with strange desert phenomena. For as long as friends could remember, Kenny had been fascinated by unusual caves, abandoned structures, and geological anomalies. He spent hours studying old mining maps and topographic charts. He examined satellite images of unexplored ravines and hidden basins. He was always looking for something unusual, something unexplained. So when he discovered a cave shaped like a perfect M, pulsing with a strange vibrational energy, it captured his imagination like nothing before. He believed he had found something unique, maybe even undiscovered by modern hikers. The YouTube comment that changed everything. Kenny's fateful discovery came to public attention through a single online comment he posted in response to a video by a survival channel. One time I came across a cave while hiking near Nellis Air Force Base. The entrance looked just like a big M. As I approached it, my whole body started to vibrate. The closer I got, the more intense it felt. I quickly backed out and left. That comment electrified thousands of readers. People begged him to go back and film it. Some accused him of making it up. Others warned him the vibrations sounded dangerous. And Kenny, full of confidence, curiosity, and maybe a little pride, responded, "I'm going to find it again. I'll take a camera this time." The wheels were set in motion, building toward the final expedition. Over the next few weeks, Kenny began preparing mentally for what he believed might be a groundbreaking discovery. He studied maps, revisited old routes, and retraced his steps to pinpoint the cave's location. His girlfriend would later report that he was excited, even energized, by the idea of returning. It wasn't reckless enthusiasm, it was an explorer's instinct. But none of them knew that this fascination would lead him deep into a place from which he would never return. Kenny Veach's fascination with the mysterious M cave didn't materialize out of thin air. It grew rapidly through a mix of online encouragement, personal curiosity, and the thrill of discovering something extraordinary in the vast Nevada desert. If Part 2 explored the man, Part 3 explores the moment the world became invested in his adventure. The YouTube comment that started it all. It began on a video posted by the channel Snake Master, where the creator explored abandoned mine systems in southern Nevada. Under that video, Kenny, using his screen name Mouthy Gorilla, left a comment that would change the direction of his life forever. His words, "I found a cave out in the desert. When I got close to it, my body began to vibrate as if there was some sort of electromagnetic energy coming from inside. The closer I got, the worse it became. I left immediately. I think someone should go with me next time." That single comment lit up the thread. People demanded proof. Skeptics accused him of lying. Conspiracy theorists claimed he'd found something the government didn't want discovered. One reply in particular hit hard. "If the cave even exists. Sounds like you're making this up." Kenny, competitive by nature and eager to stand by his experience, responded, "I'll go back. I'll film it this time. You'll see." That was the spark. His first return, the final uploaded footage. True to his word, Kenny returned to the desert alone, camera in hand. He recorded a video titled, M Cave Hike. This footage would become the last video he ever uploaded. The video shows Kenny hiking alone through rugged, sun-scorched terrain. Old mine shafts, dry washes, rock walls, and narrow gullies. His genuine excitement about finding the M-shaped cave. His occasional comments about the harshness of the environment. His calm, relaxed demeanor, indicating he wasn't in danger. But he never found the M cave on that hike. Instead, the footage ends with him explaining his disappointment. "I can't seem to relocate the cave. I'll come back out here again. I know it's out here somewhere." That line, just a simple promise, has haunted viewers ever since. Because the next time he returned, there would be no video, no update, and no Kenny. Online pressure intensifies. After posting the video, hundreds of comments poured in. Some encouraged him to try again. Others insisted he had walked right past it. A few warned him not to go alone. Several accused him of running from his own story. One comment seemed to egg him on more than the others. If you were telling the truth, you'd go back and show us. Stop making excuses. Kenny, by nature adventurous and proud, wrote back, I'm going out there again. This time I won't stop until I find it. These back-and-forth exchanges may seem harmless now, but they played a significant role in pushing Kenny toward his final, fateful expedition. Strange details about the cave itself. Before his disappearance, Kenny shared more details about the cave. The entrance was shaped like a perfect M, symmetrical and unusual. He felt intense vibrations emanating from inside. The sensation grew stronger the closer he came. It frightened him enough to back away immediately. People online speculated wildly. Electromagnetic radiation? Hidden military entrance? Natural acoustic resonance? Something paranormal? Some even claimed he had stumbled onto a restricted zone near Nellis Air Force Base, an area infamous for classified activity. But one thing was certain. Kenny fully intended to find the cave again, no matter what it took. The build-up to his final journey. In the days after uploading his video, Kenny reviewed old hiking routes, cross-referenced canyon locations, traced ridgelines from memory, told friends he was returning to search again, packed minimal gear like he always did. There was no sign of distress or fear, just determination. He believed he had found something worth documenting, something unusual, something no one else had seen before. And with the desert whispering its secrets and the online world pushing him forward, Kenny began planning his next hike, the one that would become his last confirmed journey into the Nevada wilderness. By early November 2014, Kenny Veach was increasingly focused on one goal: returning to the Nevada desert to find the mysterious M cave once and for all. His mind was set. His gear was packed. His confidence was high. Yet beneath the surface, tiny cracks were beginning to form, details that would later become crucial pieces of an unsolved puzzle. The last week, a man preparing for something important. Friends and family later described Kenny as restless, energized, obsessed with solving the mystery. He talked about the vibration he felt the first time he found the cave and how strange it was, unlike anything he had ever experienced during decades of desert hiking. Those close to him weren't surprised by his determination. This was Kenny. When he set his mind to something, he followed through. But several people would later admit that something about him felt different that week. His girlfriend Sharon recalled. He was excited, but there was a heaviness to him too. It was like he felt he had to prove something. The last conversations with his girlfriend. The night before he left, Kenny told Sharon he planned a short, one-day excursion. He reassured her repeatedly, I'll be back by dark. Don't worry. He didn't plan to camp. He didn't bring heavy supplies. He didn't pack enough for an overnight stay. That decision alone would become one of the most baffling parts of his disappearance, because the Nevada desert in November is brutal at night. With his family, Kenny briefly spoke with his family earlier that week. Nothing seemed unusual. He didn't mention risks or fear. He didn't talk about the vibrations again. He was upbeat, even cheerful, but he did mention something that stuck with him later. I think I'm close to finding something big. He didn't elaborate. The plan, his final route. Kenny's intended route, according to notes and interviews, was an area southwest of Nellis Air Force Base, specifically near Sheep Range, Red Rock Canyon vicinity, the high desert around the Arrow Canyon Range. He parked at the Hidden Forest Trailhead, a location familiar to him. His planned route included hiking northwest along a dry wash, cutting toward a rocky ridge where he believed the M cave might be, looping back the same day before nightfall. This was not an easy hike. The terrain is steep, has loose shale, contains deep crevasses, lacks shade, is far from any help. Veteran hikers warned that one wrong step in this region can lead to a fatal fall. Kenny knew the risks. He'd hiked this area many times before. But this time, he was going off memory. No GPS markers, no flagging tape, no digital footprint. What Kenny brought with him? One of the strongest pieces of evidence about the nature of his final hike is what he did not bring. He carried a lightweight backpack, a bottle of water, snacks, his cell phone, a small knife. No extra layers. He did not carry overnight supplies, heavy hydration, emergency beacon, protective gear, a map or GPS unit, extra batteries, fire-making equipment. Seasoned hikers later criticized the lack of equipment, saying, "It looked like he packed for a casual afternoon stroll." But Kenny had always been confident, some say overconfident. He trusted his instincts. The last confirmed sighting. On November 10th, 2014, Kenny parked his car at the trailhead. That moment, him stepping out of the vehicle, locking the door, and heading toward the desert, is the last undisputed sighting of Kenny Veach alive. There were no witnesses along the trail, no hikers crossing his path, no campers in the vicinity, no one who saw him heading toward the ridge where he claimed the M cave was located. The desert swallowed him whole. The moment his disappearance was reported, when Kenny didn't return that night, his girlfriend wasn't immediately alarmed. He sometimes returned late. He sometimes took detours. He sometimes stayed out longer than planned. But by the next morning, fear crept in. By late afternoon, panic took over. She drove to the trailhead, hoping to see his car gone. Proof he'd simply taken a different route home. But the car was still there. Untouched. Locked. Silent. That single moment marked the beginning of a search effort that would soon grow into one of the most unsettling missing person cases in Nevada's modern history. The discovery of Kenny's car at the Hidden Forest trailhead was the moment everything shifted from mild concern to full-scale emergency. The first 48 hours would become critical, not only for the investigation itself, but for shaping the enduring mystery of how an experienced desert hiker vanished without leaving a single trace. The girlfriend's discovery. When Kenny's girlfriend found his car still parked at the trailhead, she immediately knew something was wrong. He was dependable. He kept his promises. He always communicated delays. But now, the car was locked. There were no footprints around it besides his old ones. No indication he had ever returned. She tried calling his phone repeatedly. It rang, then went to voicemail. Eventually, it went straight to voicemail every time. That was the moment she called authorities. Law enforcement arrives. Within hours, personnel from Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, Nevada Search and Rescue, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, were on scene. They knew this region extremely well. They also knew how unforgiving it could be. The first assumption was straightforward. Kenny may have injured himself and needed immediate assistance. But several things puzzled investigators instantly. There was no note left in the vehicle. No digital trail on his phone, no GPS pings. No map or route outline left behind. His pack inside the car appeared barely touched, indicating he left lightly equipped. For a man described as experienced and cautious, these were surprising omissions. Launch of the search operation. Search teams deployed quickly. Ground hikers covering washes and ridgelines. Helicopters conducting aerial sweeps. Drones scanning canyons and crevices. Tracking experts analyzing prints in the dust and sand. Dog teams brought in to pick up any scent. The first day brought hope. The second day brought fear. By hour 48, rescuers had already covered miles of open desert, key trail routes, steep cliffs, abandoned mine shafts, narrow slot canyons, wildlife refuge areas, potential water sources. Yet they found no tracks, no gear, no clothing, no signs of a fall, and no indication Kenny had passed through any major route. The one major discovery, the cell phone. On the morning of the second day, a search team located Kenny's cell phone. It was found on the edge of a steep dry wash, near a ridge he had mentioned in past comments. Lying on the ground, not protected or tucked away, with no signs of damage from a fall, no signs of animal interference. This was the only meaningful physical clue ever found. But even this discovery raised more questions than answers. Why wasn't the phone with him? Possible explanations included: he dropped it accidentally while climbing. He placed it down intentionally to conserve battery or check signal. He abandoned it due to an emergency. Someone else moved it before it was found. The phone itself was intact and showed no calls made after he left, no emergency attempts, no GPS tracking history, no signs of forced power off. To this day, investigators have never publicly released the phone's full contents. Searchers noticed something strange. Multiple rescuers reported something unusual. There were no tracks leading to or away from the phone. This region is dusty and dry. Even faint prints often remain visible for days. But the ground around the phone seemed undisturbed, smooth, wind cleared, as if either the phone had been placed recently, or wind had erased all signs of movement. The second explanation seemed unlikely given that searchers found older animal tracks perfectly intact nearby. This became the first moment rescuers started whispering among themselves. Something isn't adding up here. Day 2 ends, a growing, uneasy realization. By the end of the first 48 hours, rescuers were forced to consider the possibility that Kenny was not simply lost. He may not be in the immediate search zone. He may have traveled further than expected. Something catastrophic or unusual may have happened. The mood shifted dramatically. Hope began to fade. Theories started forming. The desert's silence felt heavier, and Kenny Veach was still nowhere to be found. The first 48 hours had yielded almost nothing except Kenny's cell phone, an item that raised more questions than it answered. As days passed, the initial urgency morphed into a far more complicated, unsettling mystery. Now the search had to evolve. It had to grow wider, deeper, more methodical, and far more desperate. The search expands beyond the original zone. With the immediate area producing no additional evidence, search and rescue teams increased the radius dramatically. Within the next few days, rescuers had combed canyon floors stretching for miles, desolate ridgelines with fatal drop-offs, old mine entrances notorious for hidden shafts, dry washes where flash floods can occur, remote limestone caves, game trails used by bighorn sheep. Every time a new sector was cleared, crew members repeated the same troubling statement. If he passed through here, he left no trace. This was deeply unusual. Expert wilderness insights. Why Kenny's vanishing didn't add up. Nevada desert survival experts were brought in to evaluate the situation. Their conclusions complicated the case even further. 1. Kenny was too experienced to vanish this cleanly. Experts were familiar with Kenny's reputation. He hiked alone regularly. He understood terrain hazards. He conserved water intelligently. He was physically fit. They found it very hard to believe that he could get lost so badly that no trace whatsoever was left behind. 2. Even in worst-case scenarios, evidence is usually found. Searchers would typically find clothing, gear, water bottles, footprints, a drop site, disturbed vegetation. But with Kenny, the desert offered nothing. Not one item besides the phone. 3. Predation signs were absent. If an animal attack had occurred, there would be drag marks, scattered clothing, blood traces, disturbance zones. 0 indicators of predation were found. 4. A fall into a canyon was unlikely. Helicopters scanned all major drop zones repeatedly. Thermal imaging was also deployed. No anomalies, no remains, no clothing fragments. Desert experts began to murmur something they rarely say. This doesn't fit any known pattern of desert disappearances. The family's increasingly desperate search. While official teams worked systematically, Kenny's girlfriend Sharon and his family launched their own search efforts. Sharon returned to the desert repeatedly. She retraced routes she remembered Kenny describing. She spoke with rangers. She contacted online communities. She questioned hikers passing through the area. She kept hoping, wishing, to find a water bottle, a note, a scrap of fabric, anything. But the days stretched into weeks, and still, nothing emerged. Her pain and frustration grew. She kept saying to rescuers, "Someone doesn't just disappear into thin air." Yet in this case, That's exactly what seemed to have happened. The desert's deceptions. Why the area confused rescuers. Veteran search teams understood a truth many outsiders don't. The Nevada desert is a labyrinth. The terrain includes limestone karst formations with hidden cracks, collapsed mine networks buried under sand, unstable cliff ledges, wind-eroded ravines, old survey holes from the mid-1900s. Any of these could, theoretically, swallow a man. But here's the problem. Searchers inspected every accessible hazard zone close to his last known location. And large-scale voids, caves, pits, mine entrances were scanned with drones, thermal imaging, cameras, flashlights, rappelling teams. Still, no sign. One rescuer later said, "We were looking for a ghost." Whispers among searchers, theories begin to form. Not officially, not in reports, but behind the scenes, search members began discussing three growing possibilities. Theory 1. Kenny walked much farther than expected. Maybe he pushed deeper into the wilderness than the team initially assumed, far past traditional search perimeters. Veteran hikers, however, doubted this. He didn't pack enough supplies for such a trip. Theory 2. Kenny fell into an extremely hidden crevice or collapsed cave. These formations can be nearly invisible, especially under loose desert crust. This was possible, but rescuers inspected hundreds of these formations. Theory 3. Something else happened, something unrelated to environmental factors. This theory was never stated publicly, but searchers whispered about it. Human involvement. Restricted military zones. An encounter with something or someone unexpected. A deliberate disappearance. Or the infamous M cave itself. The cave's rumored vibrations and strange properties were dismissed officially. But privately, many acknowledged. Kenny believed that cave was different, and he was determined to find it again. By the end of this phase, search operations extended far beyond their original scope. But the deeper they pushed into the desert, the more impossible the case became. Despite multiple agencies, experienced searchers, aerial technology, volunteers, family efforts, they were no closer to finding Kenny than they were on day one. It was as if the desert had erased him. The longer Kenny remained missing, the more the case transformed from a routine search and rescue mission into a full-blown cultural phenomenon. On the ground, rescuers were reaching physical and emotional exhaustion. Online, thousands of strangers were becoming captivated, then consumed, by the unsettling mystery of the M cave and the man who vanished trying to find it. This was the phase where the investigation shifted, where emotion mixed with theory, where the case stopped being local and became legendary. The emotional toll on the search teams. As days blurred into weeks, searchers faced an uncomfortable truth. Experienced hikers don't disappear like this. These rescuers operate in some of the harshest landscapes in the United States. They understand dehydration patterns, common injury zones, collapse points, wildlife behavior, typical lost hiker psychology. This case didn't match any known pattern. Searchers became frustrated. Some felt personally responsible. Others grew unsettled. One rescuer described the mood. It was like the desert swallowed him. No tracks. No gear. Nothing. That's not normal. We were looking for someone who left no trace, and that alone is disturbing. Another said, "I've pulled bodies out of the worst canyon pockets in this region. There's always something. A shoe. A backpack. A torn sleeve. Something. But for Kenny, nothing." The lack of evidence began to gnaw at them. Online communities become obsessed. While boots were still on the ground, the internet ignited. YouTube viewers flocked to the comment section of Kenny's M cave hike video. Reddit threads exploded. Forums dedicated to missing persons and paranormal mysteries spread the story like wildfire. Suddenly, the case gained momentum far beyond Nevada. Why the internet latched onto this case so fiercely? Kenny left a chilling comment about the vibrating cave. He recorded a real video attempting to find it. He disappeared immediately after planning to return. Only his phone was found, nothing else. The area is close to restricted military zones. No explanation felt satisfying or logical. It contained every ingredient of a modern legend. The birth of conspiracy theories. With little official information being released, the vacuum was quickly filled by speculation. Online sleuths began dissecting topographical maps, military testing patterns, seismic activity, local folklore, satellite images, Kenny's previous hiking videos, audio from his camera footage. They developed multiple theories, some grounded, others extreme. Below are the earliest and most persistent ones. Major theory number 1, military involvement. Because Kenny hiked close to the Nellis Air Force Base range, many theorists proposed he wandered into a restricted zone. He encountered military personnel. He witnessed something classified. The cave was actually a disguised entrance. He was detained, or worse. Supporters of this theory pointed to the lack of physical evidence, the proximity to secretive testing areas, long-standing local rumors about underground facilities. However, no official report ever supported this idea. Major theory number 2. The cave itself was dangerous. This group believed the vibrations Kenny felt were real. The cave emitted electromagnetic energy. It may have caused disorientation or physical harm. He found it again and didn't survive entering. Some link this to natural resonant frequency zones, pockets of toxic gas, geologic anomalies, seismic microfractures, infrasound. To them, the cave wasn't paranormal. It was simply lethal. Major theory number 3, the paranormal angle. This was the most controversial theory, but also the one that caught enormous internet attention. Speculators suggested the cave was a portal. The vibration was a warning. The area held spiritual significance. Kenny encountered something not of this world. Some referenced Native American lore, claiming the region had long been connected with shapeshifters, spirit guardians, forbidden caves, cursed lands. While this theory was sensational, it reflected the eerie atmosphere surrounding the case. Major theory number 4. Kenny chose to disappear. A smaller group raised a sensitive but realistic possibility. Kenny may have intentionally walked away from his life. He may have staged the disappearance. He might have sought isolation or escape. However, his family strongly denied this. Friends said Kenny had plans for the future, and no evidence emerged to support it. Still, investigators had to consider it, as they do in any missing person case. Major theory number 5. A fatal accident in an inaccessible location. The most grounded theory. Experts proposed he took a wrong turn, fell into a hidden crevice, became trapped where helicopters couldn't spot him, or was covered by shifting rocks or debris. The terrain in that region is full of hazards invisible even to seasoned hikers. Search teams knew this theory well, but even here, something felt off. One ranger put it simply: if he fell, he should have left something behind. He didn't. Conflicting eyewitness accounts. As the story grew, several hikers claimed they saw a man resembling Kenny, heard someone shouting near ridgelines, found odd footprints in remote areas, noticed strange cave structures. However, none of these claims were verifiable. Most came weeks after the disappearance. None led to actionable leads. The case evolves from a search to a deeper investigation. Eventually, officials recognized that this wasn't a simple rescue mission. This wasn't just a lost hiker scenario. This was something genuinely unusual. The focus shifted from recovering Kenny to understanding what could possibly have happened to him. This transition marked a new chapter in the case, one that would take investigators deeper into the wilderness, deeper into the cave networks, and deeper into the theories that would define the story for years to come. Weeks after Kenny Veach disappeared, the case moved into its most perplexing phase. The initial urgency of the first days had passed, but the mystery only deepened. New leads trickled in, fresh searches took place, and whispers of ancient stories began merging with modern theories. But one question soon overshadowed the entire investigation. Why couldn't anyone, not even experts, find the M cave again? Secondary search operations began, with public pressure mounting and online sleuths flooding search agencies with theories and map overlays. Officials authorized additional rounds of search efforts. These new searches included remote cave mapping, revisiting steep cliffs and crevasses, long-range drone flights over uncharted terrain, thermal scans at dawn and dusk, exploration of deeper canyon zones. Though the media attention had cooled, local rescuers were still determined. A veteran SAR member said, "This case stayed under everyone's skin. We had to try again." Yet every new expedition produced the same frustrating result. No tracks, no clothing, no gear, no remains, and most importantly, no cave shaped like an M. The hunt for the M cave intensifies. Kenny's original comment about the vibrating cave had captivated thousands. It became the heart of the story. A cave unlike any other. A cave that made his body vibrate. A cave that he fled from instinctively. Searchers attempted to locate it using 1. Satellite imagery. People online reviewed high-resolution maps, tracing rocky formations that resembled the letter M. Dozens of pins were marked. Search teams checked them. None matched Kenny's description. 2. Ground explorations. Several rescuers hiked Kenny's recorded routes from his YouTube video. Same ridges, same canyons, same mine shafts, same rock formations. Some of the caves looked close, but not close enough. 3. Volunteer sleuth expeditions. Multiple hikers inspired by the case ventured into the desert to look for the cave themselves. They combed, mined tunnels, limestone overhangs, shadowed alcoves, wind-carved fissures. A few even risked entering unstable holes. Still nothing. The troubling possibility. Did the cave disappear? Search teams reluctantly began considering hard geological truths. 1. Desert cave entrances can collapse. Shifting sediment, flash floods, and erosion can bury openings. 2. Shadows can create illusions. A cave might only appear M-shaped from a certain angle at a certain time of day. 3. Kenny might have misremembered its exact location. If he strayed even half a mile off his mental map, the real cave could be hidden in a different canyon system. 4. The cave may never have been a true cave. It could have been a wind-eroded formation, a shallow alcove, a rock shadow pattern. Still, this explanation never sat well with those who saw his video and read his original comment. He didn't sound confused. He sounded serious. A cold, unsettling idea formed. What if he did find the cave again? And whatever happened next prevented him from coming back out. Emergence of Native American legends. As the online community continued digging, researchers and enthusiasts began exploring cultural legends tied to the region. The land Kenny hiked is historically connected to the southern Paiute people. In Paiute oral tradition, the desert holds forbidden caves, spiritual gateways, shape-shifting beings, underground worlds. Some of the most relevant stories included 1. The Calling Caves. Sacred sites said to emit unusual sensations, vibrations, humming, or sudden fear. These caves were believed to be protected by spirits and not meant for outsiders. 2. The Walkers Between Worlds. Entities that could lure wanderers into caves and deserts from which they would never return. 3. The Hollow Places. Areas where the boundary between physical and spiritual realms was weak. Researchers familiar with native lore stressed this. These stories are metaphorical, not literal. But to many online detectives, the parallels were haunting, especially the detail about caves causing vibrations or bodily sensations. Tension builds between officials and online investigators. As the case gained notoriety, conflicts began to arise. Search and rescue teams expressed frustration. They were receiving hundreds of messages, theories, and requests from people who had never set foot in the Nevada desert. One SAR representative said, "People were sending us red circles on Google Earth saying, 'Search here.' They had no idea how impossible this terrain is." Online sleuths felt ignored. They believed officials were dismissing crucial leads, particularly relating to military activity, unmarked caves, geological anomalies. This created an us versus them dynamic. Rangers grew concerned about inexperienced hikers. Dozens of people were now venturing into the desert to search for the M cave on their own, some dangerously underprepared. Officials feared injuries, Heat stroke. Additional disappearances. The strange pattern emerging. The deeper investigators looked, the stranger the case became. A hiker disappears. The cave he described cannot be found. No physical traces surface. A cell phone appears in an unlikely location. Even skilled trackers fail to reconstruct his route. And all of it in a desert region that locals already describe as beautiful, but unforgiving, and full of secrets. By the time weeks turned into months, the disappearance of Kenny Veach had transformed from a tragic missing person case into one of the internet's most enduring mysteries. What made it different wasn't only the lack of evidence. It was the sheer number of theories that emerged, each with its own logic, its own supporters, and its own unsettling implications. Some theories were grounded in science, some in survival expertise, some in military secrecy, and others drifted into territory that was harder to categorize. This part dives deep into all of them. Theory 1. A fall in extreme terrain. The most conventional explanation still carried weight among experienced searchers. Kenny Veach may have fallen into an area too remote or too camouflaged to detect. Supporting points. The Sheep Mountain region contains countless vertical drops hidden by brush. Erosion can erase tracks within hours. A fall into a mine shaft or crevice could conceal remains indefinitely. The desert scavengers can scatter what little evidence remains. Why some people reject it? Because no signs of struggle or tracks were ever found near such hazards. And Kenny's gear, a large backpack, hiking poles, should have helped rescuers locate at least something. Theory 2. A cave collapse. A plausible geological theory suggests Kenny may have re-entered M cave, and the entrance collapsed behind him. Why it's possible? Limestone and volcanic rock formations in the area are notoriously unstable. Underground voids can cave in silently. Collapses can bury even large openings, erasing them from the surface. Why it's unsettling? This would mean the cave and Kenny are both gone forever, sealed beneath tons of rock, an unmarked tomb in a wilderness that rarely gives back what it takes. Theory 3. Desert survival failure. Some survival experts believe Kenny underestimated the conditions, ran out of water, and succumbed to exposure. Nevada's Mojave region can reach temperatures of 110 degrees Fahrenheit during the day, below freezing at night. If disoriented or dehydrated, even a veteran hiker could be overwhelmed. Why it doesn't fully add up? Survival failures usually leave traces. Clothing, gear, footprints remain scattered by wildlife. In Kenny's case, nothing surfaced, not even his pack. Theory 4. Military involvement or restricted zones. One of the most persistent theories revolves around proximity to Nellis Air Force Base and restricted military land. Kenny's hiking area lies near historic testing grounds, underground facilities, drone operation corridors, sensitive surveillance ranges. Some believe Kenny may have wandered unknowingly into an active testing area, encountered something classified, been stopped by security forces, or witnessed something he wasn't meant to see. Evidence fueling the theory. Locals report hearing sonic booms and strange aircraft near the region. Mysterious underground vibrations have been felt in nearby canyons. The cave itself was described as vibrating, prompting speculation of underground machinery. Why it's hard to dismiss entirely. Parts of the Mojave are heavily monitored. Disappearances near military zones often get limited disclosure. But there's no public record confirming that Kenny crossed restricted lines. Theory 5. Wild animal encounter. Though rare, a mountain lion attack has been suggested. Why it's unlikely. Lions typically drag prey short distances, leaving signs. So our team specifically look for these patterns. A large adult male like Kenny would put up obvious resistance. No such evidence was ever found. Theory 6. Self-isolation or intentional vanishing. Some speculate Kenny may have chosen to disappear due to personal struggles. His girlfriend stated publicly that Kenny experienced bouts of depression but insisted he wasn't suicidal. He was excited about the cave. But some anomalies raise questions. The placement of his phone, neatly left on the ground, felt deliberate. No wallet, No keys, no remains. An intentional disappearance in the desert can be remarkably effective. Still, those who knew him strongly reject this theory. Theory 7. The paranormal element. Though not embraced by traditional investigators, a segment of the online community fixated on Kenny's own disturbing words. As I got close, my whole body began to vibrate. This single description ignited theories involving electromagnetic anomalies. Unusual mineral compositions could emit frequencies that induce physical sensations. Acoustic resonance. Certain cave structures can produce infrasonic vibrations, causing anxiety, nausea, disorientation, fear responses. Indigenous spiritual legends. Southern Paiute mythology warns of caves linked to spirit worlds and entities that lure travelers. Extraordinary speculation. Some reached for extraterrestrial theories, citing the region's history of strange lights. Most of these ideas are unverified, but they persist because nothing has been ruled out. Theory 8. The hidden cavern system hypothesis. A growing number of explorers believe there may be unmapped caves in the area, narrow fissures invisible from above. Caves shaped like an M could exist, deeper in the canyon network, behind rockfall, accessible only by tight squeezes, or in areas never explored due to heat and remoteness. This theory gained traction because no one has ever been able to rediscover the cave Kenny described, not even experienced cavers. Theory 9. A perfect storm of multiple factors. Some believe the answer isn't one theory, but several. Kenny found the cave. He entered. A geological or environmental event occurred. His remains became hidden beyond recovery. The cave entrance altered or collapsed. The region erased all remaining signs within days. This convergent failure theory explains why nothing makes perfect sense on its own. The common thread: no theory explains everything. Each explanation solves part of the puzzle, but leaves another part dangling. And that's exactly why the Kenny Veach case became legendary. A disappearing cave, a vanishing hiker, a landscape that swallows clues without a trace, and a timeline full of contradictions. As the search stretched on, search and rescue veterans, desert survival specialists, geologists, and even retired military personnel began weighing in. This wasn't a typical missing hiker case. It didn't follow the patterns they were used to. It didn't behave like a natural disappearance. In this part, we break down the expert analysis that shaped and complicated the narrative around the disappearance of Kenny Veach. Desert survival experts speak out. The Mojave does not hide things this well. The Mojave Desert can be merciless, but it rarely hides a body so completely that nothing is found, especially after weeks of intense searching. Veteran desert survivalists pointed out, a human body leaves tracks, even faint ones. Wind can erase prints, but not instantly. Wildlife leaves evidence when scavenging. Gear, fabric, or plastic typically remains intact for years. Yet in Kenny's case, no boot prints, no broken vegetation, no backpack, no clothing, no remains, no discarded gear. One expert bluntly stated, there should have been something, anything. The absence of every single type of expected evidence is what began to deeply unsettle SAR teams. Geologists weigh in. If M cave exists, it's an unstable volcanic rock. Geologists familiar with the Sheep Mountain region explained. The area contains basalt flows, volcanic fissures, and porous limestone. Caves can form quickly and collapse just as fast. A cave that creates a vibrating sensation could be caused by air pressure shifts or subsurface voids. The idea of a partial cave collapse raised questions, but geologists noted, a total collapse could hide an entrance permanently. A collapse might bury someone completely. From the surface, such a collapse would often look like nothing more than a normal rockslide. This theory was chilling because it provided a realistic way for both the cave and Kenny to vanish together. Still, it didn't explain the missing backpack. Retired military insight. The elephant in the room. Proximity to Nellis Air Force Base. Sheep Range lies near protected military zones, restricted air corridors, and areas with undisclosed operations. Retired Air Force personnel commented. The desert hides underground testing sites. There are unmarked zones that civilians often wander into unknowingly. Not every restricted area is labeled on public maps. Surveillance in certain parts of the Mojave is far more extensive than people assume. One anonymous former officer suggested, if someone got close to something they shouldn't have, the response would be swift and silent. This didn't imply wrongdoing, only that the government might never publicly reveal the details. Notably, the military has never commented on the case. Search and rescue team leaders, the internal frustration. The behavior of this case is abnormal. More than one SAR leader admitted privately that the case simply didn't make sense. Their concerns included the cell phone left in a location with no associated tracks, the total lack of scent for search dogs, the lack of disturbed soil around the area, the unlikeliness of a veteran hiker wandering off marked terrain. Kenny's deep experience, meaning he knew death zones to avoid. One SAR coordinator later told a local reporter, "We weren't just looking for a person. We were looking for any sign of a person, and we found nothing." To a searcher, nothing is often the most terrifying result. Native American cultural experts. There are places in the desert you simply do not go. When Kenny's description of the vibrating cave circulated online, Native American scholars and tribal members were contacted. Several referenced Paiute stories of forbidden caves, spirit realms associated with deep caverns, legends of mountain guardians, sites that were culturally considered dangerous. While these accounts are spiritual, not forensic, they added layers of historical unease to the investigation. One expert said, "Some caves are believed to be thresholds. Not every threshold is meant to be crossed." These insights were never considered evidence, but they deepened the mystery in ways no one expected. Climbers and cavers. Logical, but not reassuring. There are too many uncharted crevices here. Climbing specialists who explored the Sheep Range agreed. The area has countless dead-end fissures. Some crevices are too narrow for gear, making falls lethal. A person could be trapped beyond reach or visibility. Many such fissures have never been charted. However, experienced cavers emphasized, even then, something usually surfaces. Soil disturbance, gear, broken items. But again, nothing from Kenny. The common consensus among experts. Something unusual happened, but not necessarily supernatural. The experts collectively agree on 3 points. 1. This case does not behave like a standard desert disappearance. Nothing follows the typical patterns. Nothing leaves the typical traces. 2. The location is dangerous, but not dangerous enough to erase all evidence. Something else is missing from the puzzle. 3. The cell phone discovery is the single most baffling detail. Its placement is inconsistent with falls, animal attacks, intentional vanishing, dehydration, cave collapse, and most criminal scenarios. Some experts think it was dropped. Others think it was placed. None can explain the lack of footprints. The psychological toll on rescuers. We kept thinking we missed something, but we didn't. Several rescuers later admitted feeling haunted by the case. It's rare for SAR personnel to express emotional impact. They're trained to search, not to internalize. But the Kenny Veach search was different. Searchers described recurring memories of the emptiness, frustration at the lack of closure, the eerie quietness of the mountain, a shared sense that something was off, a lingering belief that the case may never be solvable. One rescuer said, "The desert felt wrong that week." Another said, "I found dozens of missing people in worse terrain. But Kenny? It's like he just ceased to exist." By the time months had passed since Kenny Veach's disappearance, the story had migrated from search and rescue reports and local news into the digital zeitgeist. YouTube, Reddit, and other forums became a hive of theories, expeditions, and speculation. For many, the case transformed into a collective puzzle, one that anyone could attempt to solve from the safety of their home. But this digital obsession also amplified hoaxes, misinformation, and dangerous behaviors. YouTube investigators enter the scene. Several creators began producing content analyzing Kenny's last video and his online comments about the vibrating cave. Common approaches included route reconstructions, using Google Earth, 3D maps, and topographical overlays to predict Kenny's path, highlighting possible M-shaped cave formations. Footage analysis, scrutinizing his original videos for clues about location, angles, and landmarks. Comparing desert features visible in his uploads with public maps. Theory videos. Some pushed conventional survival scenarios. Others dabbled in the paranormal, claiming the cave was otherworldly. A few creators speculated about government involvement or military testing sites. Each video gathered thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, of views, cementing Kenny Veach as a legend in YouTube's unsolved mysteries community. The explosion of online theories. Some of the more prominent theory categories included accidental death. Kenny fell or was trapped in an uncharted crevice. Environmental hazard. Flash flood, rock collapse, or natural cave phenomena. Paranormal or supernatural. Vibrations as a warning or a doorway. Military or government interference. Proximity to classified testing zones. Hoaxes and fabrications. Some claimed Kenny staged his own disappearance. Forums often debated fiercely, with each theory defended passionately. Even today, decades later, the M-Cave subreddit and YouTube threads remain active, with new ideas appearing regularly. Dangerous expeditions inspired by the case. Unprepared adventurers began heading into the Nevada desert in search of the M-Cave. Many underestimated the terrain, taking light gear and little water. Some followed vague GPS coordinates suggested online. At least a few individuals got lost temporarily, forcing search teams to assist them. Authorities warned repeatedly, "Do not attempt to find this cave. It's extremely dangerous, and the desert is unforgiving." Some skeptics claimed these attempts only added confusion, spreading misinformation about potential cave locations. Hoaxes and fake evidence. As the legend grew, hoaxes emerged. Videos claiming to show Kenny alive. Photos allegedly of the M-Cave, but actually from other regions. Fake vibration experiments that tried to recreate Kenny's experience. False eyewitness testimonies claiming to have seen him. While most could be debunked, the hoaxes fueled more speculation and blurred the line between fact and fiction. Impact on online communities. The Kenny Veach case became a cultural phenomenon among certain YouTube audiences. New media investigators. Young creators used it as their first unsolved case video. Digital armchair sleuths. Forums became active with map overlays, route reconstructions, and theory crafting. Paranormal enthusiasts. The vibrating cave aspect drew strong attention, linking it to other famous unexplained disappearances. Survivalists and hikers. Many debated whether Kenny's disappearance could have been avoided with different equipment or preparation. For these communities, Kenny's story was not just a disappearance. It was an ongoing interactive mystery that they could explore virtually. A case that feeds curiosity and fear. The combination of real events and digital amplification created a phenomenon. The story became immortalized online. Theories flourished faster than investigators could respond. The line between credible evidence and imagination blurred. Even decades later, new enthusiasts continue to dissect the case in video essays and live streams. It is an example of how modern social media transforms tragedies into enduring mysteries, sometimes complicating the search for truth. One of the most unsettling aspects of Kenny Veach's disappearance is his description of the vibrating cave. Unlike conventional missing person cases, this single detail has fueled speculation for years, both scientifically and paranormally. In Part 12, we explore the environmental factors, technical analyses, and strange phenomena reported near the site. Kenny's description of the vibrations. Before his disappearance, Kenny posted a comment online describing his experience. "As I got close, my whole body began to vibrate. I got scared and ran." Key points. The sensation was localized near a cave he later called M-Cave. It was physical. He reported it throughout his body. It caused immediate discomfort, enough for him to flee. He described it as distinct from normal terrain vibrations or sounds. This brief description became central to both online speculation and expert inquiries. Geological explanations. Desert geologists have proposed several plausible causes. 1. Seismic microvibrations. Small, low-frequency tremors can occur naturally in desert fault zones. Usually imperceptible, but in rare circumstances they can be noticeable in loose rock or confined spaces. 2. Infrasound from wind and rock formations. Narrow canyons can amplify wind vibrations below 20 Hz. Infrasound can create a sense of unease, dizziness, or bodily vibration. 3. Mineral-induced electromagnetic effects. Certain rocks, like magnetite-rich formations, can emit weak EM fields. Some claim prolonged exposure causes tingling sensations or vibrations, though evidence is limited. Experts emphasize these explanations are plausible but unproven for Kenny's specific experience. No environmental readings were taken during his visit, leaving the phenomenon unverified scientifically. Unexplained environmental reports. After Kenny's disappearance, locals and searchers reported unusual phenomena. Audible hums or low-frequency sounds in specific ridges. Shimmering heat distortions that appeared in the desert mirage. Animal avoidance of certain crevices. Localized magnetic anomalies detected in limited areas. Although anecdotal, these reports fueled both scientific and paranormal theories. Attempts to recreate the vibrations. Several independent researchers and enthusiasts attempted to replicate Kenny's experience. Infrasound experiments. Devices mimicked low-frequency vibrations in cave-like formations. Some participants reported subtle physical tingling. None reported the intense full-body vibrations Kenny described. Magnetometer tests. Survey teams scanned suspected cave locations for abnormal EM fields. Results were inconclusive, with minor anomalies attributed to natural mineral deposits. Audio/resonance trials. Recordings of wind passing through crevices played at different frequencies. Volunteers reported feelings of vertigo or mild discomfort. The conclusion: while natural phenomena may produce sensations, none fully explain Kenny's extreme reaction. Paranormal and folklore considerations. For decades, Southern Paiute legends have described locations in the desert that induce unease, disorientation, physical sensations such as tingling or vibrations. While these accounts are anecdotal and spiritual in nature, some theorists argue that Kenny's reaction aligns with ancient warnings about sacred or forbidden areas. Many online sleuths embraced these interpretations, citing the vibrating phenomenon as proof of supernatural forces, linking the cave to invisible thresholds or portals, suggesting Kenny may have inadvertently crossed a metaphysical boundary. The implications of the vibrations. Whether geological, environmental, or supernatural, the vibrations have several consequences. They may explain Kenny's sudden retreat from the cave. They suggest the cave, or its environment, is inherently hazardous. They reinforce the enduring mystery, as no similar report has been documented in this exact location before or after. It's the one element of Kenny's story that is both verifiable, through his own testimony, and entirely unexplainable. The tension between science and mystery. Geologists and survival experts insist the cave was likely dangerous but natural. Paranormal enthusiasts argue the vibrations indicate something beyond the material world. Online investigators continue debating, producing dozens of videos attempting to map or locate the cave based solely on these accounts. The desert itself remains silent, leaving researchers, authorities, and enthusiasts with a single fact. Kenny Veach vanished immediately after encountering the vibrations, and nothing has been found since. As Kenny Veach's disappearance evolved into a decades-long mystery, modern technology became a focal point for both investigators and amateur sleuths. Drones, LiDAR mapping, and high-resolution satellite imagery promised new insights, but the desert continued to guard its secrets. Part 13 explores the technological efforts to locate Kenny or M Cave and why these cutting-edge tools have so far failed. Drones in the desert. Drones became the first line of modern search technology. Key capabilities included high-resolution cameras for visual sweeps of inaccessible ridges, thermal imaging to detect heat signatures, GPS mapping to chart large swaths of the Mojave. Search teams deployed drones over areas previously unreachable on foot. Findings and limitations. Visual sweeps. Drones captured thousands of images. No evidence of Kenny, his gear, or unusual cave formations consistent with his description. Thermal imaging. Effective for detecting warm bodies, even in shaded canyons. By the time drones were deployed, Kenny had already been missing for weeks, rendering this approach ineffective for human detection. Navigation hazards. Gusty winds in the desert caused drones to crash in remote canyons. Dust and heat interfered with sensors. While drones provided stunning visuals of the terrain, they revealed nothing new about M Cave or Kenny. LiDAR surveys, seeing the invisible. LiDAR, light detection and ranging, uses laser pulses to generate precise 3D maps. Search teams hoped it could detect hidden cave entrances, identify unusual formations or voids, map terrain inaccessible to humans. Results. LiDAR scans covered miles of ridges and canyons. Small fissures, cracks, and overhangs were cataloged. Despite this precision, no M-shaped cave matching Kenny's description was identified. Some enthusiasts argued that the cave may have collapsed or shifted over time, making it undetectable even by LiDAR. Satellite imagery and GIS analysis. Online investigators took to publicly available satellite maps, comparing terrain against Kenny's videos, identifying potential cave-like shadows, overlaying topographical features to predict hidden areas. Challenges. Shadows can be deceiving. Formations may appear cave-like, but are shallow rock overhangs. Resolution limits prevent detection of narrow or camouflaged openings. Seasonal shifts, sand, vegetation, and erosion can obscure features from one year to the next. Again, these tools failed to reveal any conclusive location for M Cave or Kenny. The paradox of technology in the desert. Despite drones, LiDAR, and satellite imagery, nothing definitive has been found. No additional physical clues emerged. The desert remains visually stunning but dangerously deceptive. Experts concluded, high-tech tools can help, but the Nevada desert isn't fully readable. It hides fissures, shadows, and collapses that no technology can easily reveal. The tools were excellent for documentation, but the mystery endured. Digital reconstruction attempts. Some YouTubers and GIS hobbyists tried. Virtual 3D modeling of Kenny's route. Predictive mapping to locate possible M Cave entrances. Overlaying drone footage with historical maps. These reconstructions gained online attention, but no physical expedition following their predictions has ever located the cave. The digital models, while fascinating, only reinforce the puzzle. Kenny's last steps remain a ghost on a map. Why technology has not solved the case. The desert landscape changes rapidly. Erosion, shifting sands, and collapsing rocks alter topography. Kenny may have ventured beyond the known search area, or the cave itself may have moved or collapsed. Even high-resolution imaging cannot penetrate deep or narrow caves or detect a hidden crevice buried under debris. Human error in predictions and the vastness of the terrain make pinpointing a location nearly impossible. The tools offered hope, but the desert continued to defy them. The psychological impact on searchers and enthusiasts. SAR teams felt frustration after investing resources in high-tech searches with no results. Online communities alternated between optimism and obsession. The story of Kenny Veach, amplified by technology, became a legend as much as a case. Even decades later, every new video, drone flight, or LiDAR scan is viewed as a potential breakthrough, keeping the mystery alive. Even after months and years of investigations, Kenny Veach's disappearance has continued to generate reports of unusual phenomena in the Nevada desert. Part 14 explores first-hand accounts, post-disappearance sightings, and the mysterious environmental occurrences that have kept both professionals and enthusiasts on edge. Strange phenomena reported in the area. After Kenny vanished, hikers, backpackers, and locals reported unexplained occurrences. 1. Vibrations in certain canyons. Several hikers claimed they felt a subtle, persistent tremor in specific locations near where Kenny disappeared. Most described it as like standing on a vibrating floor, similar to what Kenny reported. No geological surveys have confirmed consistent natural sources for these sensations. 2. Unexplained lights. Nighttime campers reported fleeting, bright flashes of light in remote ridges. Some described it as pulsing or rhythmic, almost like it had a pattern. Authorities attribute many lights to distant planes or atmospheric phenomena, but the timing and location have raised questions. 3. Disappearing footprints. A few reports described hikers seeing footprints that vanished after a short distance, as if the desert itself had erased them. Some theorists speculate wind patterns or unstable sand could cause this, though skeptics call it exaggeration. Eyewitness accounts post-disappearance. Over the years, a handful of individuals claim to encounter signs of Kenny or someone matching his description. Hiker sightings. A man resembling Kenny was spotted near remote canyons weeks after his disappearance. Witnesses could not confirm identity. Audio reports. Some hikers reported hearing unexplained shouts or calls echoing through ridges at times when no one else was nearby. Mysterious objects. Occasionally, small objects resembling camping gear were discovered in remote areas. None could be definitively linked to Kenny. While these accounts are anecdotal, they added a chilling aura to the story, feeding both the legend and the ongoing investigations. Conflicting accounts of M Cave. Despite repeated searches, the M Cave remains elusive. Some explorers claim to have seen formations matching Kenny's description. Others insist no such cave exists, calling it a product of imagination or misperception. Locals sometimes warn outsiders against trying to find it, citing danger, cultural respect, and stories of unexplained events. The inconsistent reports have made it impossible to verify whether the M Cave is a real, physical cave, a misidentified rock formation, a partially collapsed or hidden cave, or something entirely unexplained. The vibration effect and environmental curiosity. Kenny's description of vibrations has inspired repeated investigations. Geologists measured electromagnetic activity and natural seismic microtremors, finding nothing that fully explains the sensations. Hikers continue to report mild vibrations in the area, but experiences are highly subjective. Paranormal enthusiasts interpret these as supernatural or metaphysical warnings. No scientific consensus exists. The vibrations remain one of the most perplexing elements of the case. The lingering legend. The combination of Kenny's disappearance, the M Cave's elusive location, strange environmental reports, eyewitness accounts, has elevated this story from a missing person case into an enduring mystery. It's no longer just about finding Kenny. It's about understanding the phenomena he encountered. If anything, they might hold the key to why he vanished so completely. The psychological and cultural impact. Local hikers report heightened caution and fear near the site. Online communities continuously discuss new findings, sightings, and theories. YouTube videos and Reddit threads have immortalized Kenny Veach as a figure both tragic and legendary. His disappearance has become a cautionary tale and a source of fascination, blurring the lines between fact, folklore, and internet-fueled speculation. After years of speculation, technology-assisted searches, eyewitness reports, and online investigations, Kenny Veach's disappearance remains unsolved. Part 15 brings the story full circle, reflecting on the ongoing efforts, the impact on his family, and the mystery that continues to haunt the Nevada desert. Current status of the case. Kenny Veach remains officially missing, with no confirmed trace of his whereabouts. Authorities continue to consider the case a high-priority missing person investigation, though after many years, active search efforts have been largely scaled back. Some enthusiasts and amateur explorers still attempt to locate the elusive M cave, but no verifiable discovery has been made. Digital reconstructions, satellite analysis, and drone surveys continue to be studied, keeping the mystery alive for both researchers and the public. Family efforts and advocacy. Kenny's family has been vocal in keeping his story alive, advocating for awareness about desert safety, encouraging responsible hiking and preparation for extreme terrain, collaborating with authorities and search organizations, sharing Kenny's story online, ensuring that he is remembered beyond the legend. His disappearance has transformed into a broader conversation about missing persons in remote wilderness areas, inspiring vigilance and caution among hikers and outdoor enthusiasts. Lessons for desert safety and wilderness exploration. Kenny's case highlights the risks inherent in exploring harsh, remote landscapes. The importance of navigation tools, GPS, maps, and satellite communication devices. Carrying sufficient supplies, water, food, and first aid essentials. Understanding environmental hazards, heat extremes, flash floods, unstable rocks. The value of informing someone of your route and expected return. Recognizing psychological factors. Isolation, fear, and disorientation can have deadly consequences. Even seasoned hikers must respect the desert's unpredictability. The enduring questions. Despite technological advances and years of investigation, the most haunting questions remain. What exactly happened at M Cave? Was it geological, environmental, or something unexplainable? Did Kenny encounter an accident, or something more mysterious? Why has no physical evidence ever been found? Is the cave real, or a combination of misperception and legend? What do the reported vibrations, lights, and strange phenomena signify? These unanswered questions fuel both professional curiosity and online fascination, keeping Kenny Veach's story alive in the public imagination. The legacy of Kenny Veach. Kenny's disappearance has transcended a typical missing person case. It has inspired documentaries, articles, and countless online analyses. His story is a blend of adventure, tragedy, and mystery, capturing the imagination of hikers, explorers, and paranormal enthusiasts alike. The legend of the M Cave continues to grow, ensuring Kenny Veach is remembered not just as a man who vanished, but as a symbol of the unknown dangers of the wilderness. In the end, the Nevada desert keeps its secrets, and Kenny Veach's fate remains one of the most perplexing mysteries of our time. A cautionary tale, a legend, and an enduring enigma all at once. Final thought. Kenny Veach vanished in a vast, unforgiving desert. The cave he sought remains hidden. The vibrations he described remain unexplained. And the world continues to wonder. What really happened to Kenny Veach in that Nevada desert? For now, the story persists. Through investigations, internet communities, and the desert itself, whispering its secrets to those brave enough to seek them.